And because it was a 4-lane highway that was accessible, my mother drove us, and rather than us be able to walk. And guess what? The first frost, you know what was happening? You had to put on your windshield wipers to get literally the oil slick off the window. That's why I and so damn many other people I grew up have cancer. And why can't, for the longest time, Delaware had the highest cancer rate in the nation.
A few years later.
John, we got a statement from the personal office of former President Joe Biden. I want to read that to you. The statement says last week, President Biden was seen for a new finding of a prostate nodule after experiencing increasing urinary symptoms. On Friday, he was diagnosed with prostate cancer characterized by a Gleason score of 9, grade group 5, with metastasis to the bone. While this represents a more aggressive form of the disease, the cancer appears to be hormone sensitive, which allows for effective management. The president and his family are reviewing treatment options with his physicians. This, of course, comes as Fox News has obtained audio with the former president's interview with special counsel Robert Hur regarding his alleged mishandling of classified documents. That interview happened back in October 2023. That audio raising questions once again of the president's reported cognitive decline. And now, of course, we're learning more about some physical ailments he might be going through. Unclear at this point what stage this prostate cancer is. But again, as we're hearing from that statement, the president's office saying that at this time it appears that there is time for effective management. John, back to you.
Hi, so we got to talk about the bombshell story of the day involving former President Joe Biden, who right now there's a lot of questions swirling about his mental acuity and whether or not Democrats covered up what appeared to be a physical and mental decline during his presidency. So now, on this Sunday, okay, we got news that Joe Biden has been diagnosed with cancer, prostate cancer, an aggressive form of prostate cancer that does not really sound good.
This is CNN Breaking News.
This breaking news, former President Joe Biden has just announced that he has been diagnosed with an aggressive form of prostate cancer. Let's get straight to the White House and senior reporter Betsy Klein with more on this. Betsy.
Yeah, Frederica, the White House, the office of former President Joe Biden issuing a statement just moments ago that the former president has been diagnosed on Friday with what they described as an aggressive form of prostate cancer that has spread to his bones. I want to read you this statement again from Biden's personal office. It says, last week, President Joe Biden was seen for a new finding of a prostate nodule after experiencing increasing urinary symptoms. On Friday, he was diagnosed with prostate cancer characterized by a Gleason score of 9 with metastasis to the bone. While this represents a more aggressive form of the disease, the cancer appears to be hormone sensitive, which allows for effective management. The statement goes on to say that Biden and his family are reviewing treatment options with his physicians. Of course, President Biden is 82 years old, and of course, there has been so much scrutiny around the former president's health and his mental acuity and fitness for a second term in office. That is the subject, of course, of a new book from our colleague Jake Tapper and Alex Thompson, as well as something that was really underscored by the release of the Hur tapes earlier this week. So again, we've asked the White House for comment on this development. We will bring more details to you as soon as we have them. But again, former President Biden diagnosed with aggressive prostate cancer that has spread to his bones. Frederica.
Yeah, so you seen that, you heard that. Okay, first and foremost, before I get into this, I want to say thoughts and prayers with Joe Biden and his family. I may disagree with the guy, but I hope that he has a speedy recovery, right? I wish him well. But, you know, personally, I can't help but to ask questions about the timing of all this. Again, considering how the media is currently having conversations about the Democrats and their role, and the liberals media's role as well, too, in covering up Joe Biden's mental and physical decline. And I can't help but to ask the question of, and some people may say, oh, it's inappropriate to do this. It's like, no, it's not inappropriate to do it, because I think that this rabbit hole goes a lot deeper than what we're currently talking about, okay? Because the timing of this story is suspicious in the sense that, again, we were having this conversation about the Biden cover-up, and now this news drops about Joe Biden having cancer, and now people are asking questions about, okay, well, should we continue to have that conversation about Joe Biden and the cover-up in light of his recent cancer diagnosis? This is what CNN asked David Axelrod on their network, and David Axelrod essentially said, yeah, now's the time to mute these conversations and to kind of put them aside for another day.
His medical condition now, his announced medical condition now, do you believe that silences or delays a lot of conversations about his, last year and a half of his presidency for now?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think those conversations are going to happen, but they should be more muted and set aside for now as he's struggling through this. It shouldn't be stunning because prostate cancer is so common among men at his stage in life. Most men, if they live long enough, deal with prostate cancer, and it's great news that they think that it's manageable, but jarring nonetheless. The thing, Fred, is that people who serve in these offices, they sort of become embedded in our lives, and and this is a reminder that that no one's immortal, and so it's jarring. And
yeah, you see that, you heard that. Again, I'm just saying that I find the timing to be interesting. Okay, considering the conversation that we're having right now about Joe Biden, okay, and the cover-up that happened. This seems to be something that, in my opinion, kind of conveniently can deflect from that conversation, because people now are going to feel bad about it. They're going to say, oh, well, we shouldn't keep rehashing it. Joe Biden is essentially, diagnosed with an aggressive form of cancer. Who knows how long he has, okay? But, I mean, to me, I think it's important to continue to have a conversation, because I think that this news actually makes the rabbit hole go deeper, right? I actually have more questions about the cover-up and what is included in the cover-up, because a lot of people are saying, hey, it's kind of strange that Joe Biden got diagnosed with this aggressive cancer just months after leaving office, but yet supposedly he has the best medical care in the world, right? In the sense that he has doctors at his fingertips like 24/7. And I'm assuming that he gets regular, frequent checkups as an 80-plus-year-old man. For something like this to not be detected, despite the fact that it is aggressive, and, it being this aggressive to the point where it is already metastasized into the bones, it means that it's probably likely been around for at least a year, at least detectable for a year. That's what a lot of people are speculating. I mean, just listen to this Fox News clip between the host and their medical analyst, and you can tell that this is kind of what everybody's thinking, but they don't really want to say it out loud. Take a look.
Let's bring in Dr. Mark Siegel, Fox News senior medical analyst. Let me read again from that news release that we got from former President Biden's office, Doctor. It says he was diagnosed with prostate cancer characterized by a Gleason score of 9, grade group 5, with metastasis to the bone. That doesn't sound good, Doctor.
Gleason 9, John, means that it's in a very aggressive form of cancer, and group 5 means that within that it's the most aggressive type. That means it has the highest risk of spread, which obviously he has had. He's presenting with urinary symptoms, and I want the viewer to know that most of the time prostate cancer would be asymptomatic. When it reaches the point where you already have urinary symptoms, that's also a sign that it's pretty far advanced. When they say that it is hormone responsive, that likely means that they think by decreasing testosterone, it can be a testosterone-dependent cancer, that it will respond. The two types of therapy they use for that is one called Lupron, which stops testosterone production, and the other is a drug called Casodex, or like Casodex, which stops testosterone from binding. They also might decide, and I don't know this, but sometimes they decide to do more than one therapy. They might try to take the prostate out, do radiation and the hormone therapy all together. That's not uncommon. Over 80% of men over the age of 80 have some prostate cancer cells in their body. So this is a very high likelihood in all men. And if it's this far advanced, meaning Gleason 9 metastasized to the bone, the 5-year survival rate is somewhere between 30 and 40%. Again, depending on how well he responds to therapy. One of the questions on everyone's mind, and you just heard this from the reporter, is what about last year's PSA? You know, this was found by physical examination, by a prostate exam. A lot of times we find an elevation in prostate-specific antigen, a PSA, and then we go after it, get an MRI. I mean, he must have had the best possible care here. I'm a little taken aback that it's this far advanced and very, very concerned about it.
Yeah, that's the question I was going to ask you. This is a former president of the United States. He's supposed to be getting, as you say, the best medical care in the world. And yet, you know, just a few months after he leaves office, this prostate cancer is advanced enough that it has metastasized to the bone. That's just not good.
No, and then we don't have enough information for me to be sure of the following statement, but I want everyone to know that the PSA, though, I think it's a really great test, and I do it on every male over the age of 45. Sometimes it can be low, and you still could have this. It's not 100%. I'm not saying his was low. It wasn't written as I don't recall it being indicated there. But if it's high, you go after it. And again, to reach the point of symptoms, we most of the time we can diagnose it before. Although, you know, it may very well be that he's hormone responsive, and that's what we're all hoping and praying for here. We're looking to see what the radiation oncologist says. Are they going to give radiation? They've advanced radiation therapy dramatically for prostate cancer. They can target it. They can use seeds. It has less side effects than it used to. And the same thing with robotic prostatectomy is unbelievable now at getting the prostate out. So a lot of times the prostate would be taken out, they would give radiation and then give the hormone therapy. They're not saying that at this point.
Yeah, so you can tell from that Fox News clip, they're very uncomfortable asking the obvious question about, again, how is it that this cancer got this advanced without being detected, considering that, again, Biden is supposedly getting the best medical care in the world, okay? And, you know, it's a possibility that maybe, just maybe, this may have not shown up in whatever test that he was taking last year, and it just so happened to be found, and it was just a very aggressive form of it that just grew really fast, right? And they're just finding out about it right now. I don't know, right? All I'm saying is that there's a strange pattern here in the sense that Joe Biden, back in 2022, essentially said that he had cancer during a speech, even though nobody said that Biden had cancer at the time, but he said he did. And a lot of people just chalked it up to, well, Biden is, you know, he's losing his mind, okay? I mean, that's just Biden being Biden. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Maybe he did, right? I don't know, right? I'm just saying. Also, what I noticed as well, too, is that this morning on CNN, James Clyburn, who is supposed to be one of Biden's, you know, closest friends in Congress or whatever, he strangely compared the death of his father from prostate cancer to Joe Biden when confronted by Jake Tapper on the Democrats covering up Biden's cognitive decline. And after this news came out, I was like, now it kind of makes sense for James Clyburn to use that comparison, considering how Joe Biden has prostate cancer.
You know, the fact of the matter is, I saw Biden often, but not as often as people seem to think. I saw him, I talked to him on the telephone very often, and I never saw anything that I thought was outside of the ordinary. I watched my dad reach the age of 80, and I saw him slow down. He couldn't do the same things he did at 50 or 60, but it didn't bother his mental capacity at all. And then my father died from prostate cancer. So I never saw anything I thought was unusual. Did he talk as swiftly as he used to talk? No, he didn't. Did he walk as swiftly No, he didn't. But that is to be expected. Those of us who reach that age, as I have, we don't walk as often as...
Yeah, so again, could be a coincidence. I don't know. I'm just saying, I just found it interesting how James Clyburn decided to compare Biden to his father, who died of prostate cancer, right? Now, this was before the news had come out about Biden's diagnosis. Maybe James Clyburn knew about it before the diagnosis came out. I mean, I can imagine that Joe Biden probably called all his, closest people that he know and broke the news to him beforehand. I don't know. Maybe it's something that he just happened to bring up because this is something that is known or was known by Biden's closest people for a long time now. I don't know. I'm just saying that it makes sense to ask questions because I just find it hard to believe that this is something they're catching just now. I don't know. It's possible, but considering how Democrats have essentially lied about everything, I wouldn't be surprised if, again, we were told lies about this as well too. I don't know. I just think it's reasonable to ask questions, but they don't want you to ask questions. Okay, they don't want you to keep asking questions about Biden's health. Okay, and what happened during his last year in office. They don't want you to ask questions. But to me, it seems kind of obvious now that the plan was to have Joe Biden continue to run against President Trump. They all knew that he was not in shape to continue to be president for the next 4 years and to have him drop out if he happened to win the election. But I think that Biden's terrible performance at the debate kind of ruined that, right? I think it kind of threw a wrench in the plan and they had to replace him. But all I'm saying is that, again, people are asking a lot of questions now about what is the extent of the cover-up. This person says, Biden's cancer diagnosis does not let the regime, media, and the Democrat Party off the hook for covering up his manifest senility. In fact, it makes it 1 million times worse. Nick Sorter says, holy crap, former presidential physician Ronnie Jackson just dropped a bomb on the Biden cancer diagnosis. Quote, the truth is his physician was more concerned about assisting with the political cover-up than providing world-class medical care. Yeah, I got questions. Biden's cancer is pretty far along, according to reports. How many of you Democrats knew this for the past 4 years? Not only did you cover up his cognitive decline, but you guys cover up the man's cancer too. You people are despicable and demonic. Did Kamala Harris know this? This person says, Biden's cancer didn't appear overnight. Advanced prostate cancer takes years to develop and it's easy to detect. So why did the White House claim he was completely fit just last year? They knew, they lied. This is a massive cover up. You have this doctor, his post is going viral. Stephen Quay, he says, prostate cancer is the easiest cancer to diagnose when it first starts and to watch it progress to bone metastasis. The PSA blood test shows the rate of cancer cell growth. For even with the most aggressive form, it is a 5 to 7 year journey without treatment before it becomes metastatic. Meaning it would be malpractice for this patient to show up and be first diagnosed with metastatic disease in May 2025. It is highly likely he was carrying a diagnosis of prostate cancer throughout his White House tenure, and the American people were uninformed. Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm leaning towards. But ultimately, in the day, I don't know. They're going to tell us that we're not supposed to ask questions, that we're bad people. If we, again, question how long has Joe Biden actually had this diagnosis, right? Is this really something that was found recently? Or is this just an attempt to try to silence the talk about the cover-up that did happen, okay, during his administration? What's going on here, right? Again, there's a lot more questions than answers, but I don't think that it's going away, right? Just because Biden was diagnosed with cancer, as sad as it is, and I'm hoping and praying for a full, speedy recovery, this is not going to make the conversation go away. In fact, I think that it's going to make people ask more questions about how deep is the rabbit hole, right? What all did Democrats cover up? Okay, what all did they cover up? Did they cover this up as well too? Who knew about this, right? When was he actually really diagnosed? Again, the questions aren't going away, but we'll see. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.